Good afternoon, citizens, heroes, and villains out there. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. And I want to thank all of you for your likes, your subscribes, and your comments as to what I can improve in my video. I really do appreciate it, and I hope my videos can improve in the future. So today we're going to be working on paint pouring. I'm sure many of you have heard of this or seen this on other YouTube videos, but I wanted to show you my take on it and a few tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. So today, here's what we're going to be using. I use a two-part mixture, 1 part Elmer's glue, 1 part paint pouring. Now, if you don't have this, you can get it at Walmart or Hobby Lobby. It's only $20. If you don't have that ability, feel free to just use water. All this really is doing is thinning out the paint, allowing you to get a nice pour with it. I do highly advise using gloves. This is a very messy project, and you're going to want to be able to have fun with it and not worry about making a mess. So put on some gloves and go nuts. Have fun. You're going to need several cups, one for each color that you're going to be creating, as well as clean ones to pour your paints into before pouring them on the canvas. Now, as far as the canvas goes, you can use any canvas. It doesn't have to be expensive. You can even go to Dollar Tree and get one of the 50-cent foam boards and make it out of that as well. As far as acrylic goes, this is simple apple barrel acrylic. Super cheap. You can find it at any Walmart, Hobby Lobby, craft store, pretty much anywhere. So this is again another cheap and easy project. Now here's the second reason that we're doing this today. This is a phenomenal project to do with the entire family. I've made these, my wife has made these, and better yet, my 7-year-old daughter was able to make this masterpiece right here. And I could not be more proud. So this is a great project to take on with the entire family to really get in there, pick out your favorite colors, and make masterpieces that you can hang on your wall and be absolutely proud to show all of your friends and your family and your neighbors. So thank you again for clicking on this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave in the comments below what you'd like to see on future videos, and let's get started. Okay, so here we go. First thing we do is get on some gloves. We're going to be making a huge mess, but that's okay. That's why we have gloves. Keep it clean. I poured in, the white stuff that you see is the paint pouring mixture that I poured in. Now, I do mix it with 1 part paint pouring medium and 1 part Elmer's glue. This makes it a little bit thicker, gives you more time to move it around and create some pretty cool designs. Pouring in just acrylic paint. You pour about the same amount of acrylic paint as you do the paint pouring mixture. Now you'll see me also using airbrush paint. Airbrush paint is a lot more condensed, and therefore you don't have to use as much of it. So it's a great thing to use for this, and you can just get acrylic. The technique that I just used is one that I've seen a few people do, and I haven't tried before. So I just flipped the cup upside down on the canvas and opened it up. Then I went through with the airbrush and pushed around the air. Now you could do this with a straw or with a hairdryer on a cool setting to create cool designs. And it really just moves around the paint and reveals some of the layers of paint underneath other layers. I then took my finger and touched up the sides, and the paint doesn't hit every area on the sides and the corners, so dabbing your finger along the edge fills in that white space. And there's the finished project for this one. So on the next one, I really did want to show you that you can be messy with it. You can just go nuts and do anything and create a really beautiful piece of art by doing this project. And not only that, but you never know what you're really gonna get at the end. So the colors that I'm using are the exact same colors that I used before, but you're gonna see how it makes a completely different piece of artwork. Here you see me pouring in the paint medium. 1 part paint medium, 1 part Elmer's glue, and then throw in some acrylic paint. I ran out of the orange on the last project, so I had to make my own. Just added some orange and red and came up with a close proximity to the orange that I had on the previous painting. So with this one, I didn't want to use the same technique before because that made it very symmetrical at first. I wanted to really just try something new, so I tried to be as random as I could pouring on all the paints. And if you know anything about artwork, it's really hard to be random. Our brains just aren't wired that way. So here I am, you'll see me moving back and forth between the colors, and I really didn't know what I was going to put out. I was just trying to be as random as possible. And You'd also be surprised, you might have a color you don't necessarily like. That Pepto-Bismol pink isn't really something I liked, but it turned out really well. This is called kissing paint. That's a different technique that lays on the paint to a specific type of pattern. And then I had a ton of paint left over, so I really just started throwing the paint wherever I could, and you can see what happens here. It looks like an 80s abstract painting at this point, and it ends up looking completely different. So here I am spreading it all out along the canvas, and now it looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. But I went back in with my airbrush again and started uncovering some of those layers. I didn't know how it was going to turn out, but this was really just an experimental painting for me. I wanted to see what different pressures of air would do, and what all I could do with the different techniques. And what started out looking like a Jackson Pollock painting ended up looking like a nebula to me, and I absolutely loved the way that it turned out. It almost feels like the Big Bang, like an explosion of nebulas in the universe, and I really do love the way it came out and the style that it has. I love the darkness in the center. Now, one of the things you need to know about the pouring paint medium, that it is clear, and so is the Elmer glue when they dry, so it looks lighter now than the finished product will, and you'll see that here at the end of the video. But that's the finished one, using the same colors and being completely random. This is how it looked. So you never know what you're going to get when you put them together. This is a great family project, easy project. My 7-year-old daughter ended up doing one, and it looks absolutely beautiful. So this is a great project for the whole family to create artwork that works very well as decorations around your home. So for the next one, I really did want to try and get creative with it. I have always had a passion for good versus evil, light versus dark, hot versus cold, the balance of the universe. And that's one thing that I wanted to try and do. And all the paint pours I've done up to this point, most of the ones I see people do, are really easy. And that's one of the nice things about this project. But I wanted to see what I can do in a creative fashion. So I've got my paint medium, my paint pouring medium here. And you'll see that I'm mixing 3 warm colors and 3 cold colors. So warm colors staying in the warm spectrum, reds, yellows, pinks, anything that has red, yellow in it is going to fall under the warm spectrum. Under the cool spectrum, anything that has green, blue, purple, those are all cool colors. So there's my 3 warm colors, and here I'm mixing up my 3 cool colors. So I want to try and do something that is very similar to yin yang, but in my own style. I wanted to feel very nature-like, very something you might see in nature or in space. So here I am using the same technique that I did on the first one, pouring the colors into a single cup, trying everything I could to keep them as random as possible. I didn't just want to do, blue, purple, green. So I tried to be random, going blue, green, purple, blue, just back and forth. And then I do the exact same thing with the warm colors, trying to be as random as possible. And here again, I didn't know how the final product was going to end up looking. I really was just experimenting to see what happened. And for this one, I'm going to use the same technique that I used on the second one, the paint kissing method, which looks like a ripple through water. And I love the way that it mixes the paint up and gives it that look. And I put a little bit of cool in the warm and a little bit of warm in the cool. Now, this didn't exactly work out because I put them so close to the edge that by the time I got the paint moved around, the 2 dots that I put on had completely fallen off. So I've got it covered. Now I'm trying to tilt it so that the sort of blue dot really goes back to the center. I want it to have a center point. I added the blue and the orange, the warm and the cold, back in, but it really did just look like a blob, and I didn't like that. So I was trying to think of different techniques to sort of blend it in and get it back to that natural looking state at this point. So I grabbed my airbrush and pressed it in, and it sort of gave it that wavy texture that I'd gotten on the first painting, but it still really looked out of place. So here I'm really just trying to think of what I want to do to give that more of a natural look. So what I ended up doing was grabbing a popsicle stick and pushing the popsicle stick through the color, going both out of it and into it to give little areas where the paint mixes without it just looking like a blob. And again, it still looked very unnatural, so I just go in and tilt it and try to maneuver it around again. And this really did bring it together. So after maneuvering it around and pushing the paint around and then getting the center back to where it needed to be, it gave it that more natural look, and I'm really happy with the final product. So this is my sort of yin-yang lava meeting the ocean, and I love the way that it turned out. Now for the next one, I'm using a couple of using the methods that I used in the previous ones, but also combining it with my, dark and warm colors that I really like. And again, this is just a fantastic and very therapeutic project that you can do to just, release your emotions. And me, if I was to describe myself, I would be using, in color form, I would be using very dark and red and warm colors. So I really just wanted to do a pouring that I sort of felt like would describe me if I was, my emotions were a painting. So you'll see me mixing in the reds, the orange, yellows, and all of the warm colors. In case anybody is wondering, yes, you do see a third hand coming into the frame pretty regularly. That is my amazing wife, who is sitting next to me, also doing some pouring projects of her own. She's actually the one that introduced me to doing this. I've seen it before, but I never thought to do it, and then she's got some stuff, and we did it, and I absolutely love this project. It's a great project to do with the family. So I'm mixing a lot of black because I want it to be half black and half warm colors. That came out a little too pink, so I added some other colors. Actually added a little bit of brown to bring down the red a little bit. Now I'm using the same technique as before, trying to be as random as possible, creating different layers of the paint. And then for this one, I wanted to sort of coat the canvas prior to pushing around the paint. So instead of just pouring it all into one spot, I wanted to try a technique of moving the pour around the canvas. So instead of just pouring it all in the center and then tilting the canvas to move it around, I decided to use the kissing technique and move up and down the canvas to see what it would do. And I really love this effect because it gave way more black on one side, way more warm on the other, and then I started tilting it. Another thing I realized is that when you start tilting it, if you move the canvas counterclockwise or clockwise, it'll tilt the paint in the same direction. So here I am tilting it back and forth and giving it a sort of spiraled effect. And I like how it gave almost a dragon head. I can almost see a dragon head here. I love looking at pictures like this. Me and my wife both do, and finding, pictures and faces and things we'd see in it. Hit it with the heat gun to bring out some of the colors underneath. And there's the final fourth pour. And there you have it, a fun and easy project that the whole family can do together. Have fun with it, get messy, let's see what you can make. I'd love to see what you made. Show them in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe to my video, and also leave comments as to what you'd like to see next. Thank you and have a wonderful day.